And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the best way we've ever opened up a simulation show. I am so happy to have Paul Ouellette joining us on Simulation. We'll be talking about filmmaking, talking about art. I'm really excited, my man. Thank you for coming on.
Likewise.
Super pumped. All right, let's get the mic stand out of the way for now, and later we will bring it back on the set. Coming over you.
What does it matter? Remove the mic stand.
All right.
Dope.
You're dope. All right, so Paul Ouellette, mister. We've made some cool videos together.
Yeah, dude.
If you haven't seen those videos yet, go give them a look. I'm really excited to continue making good art with Paul. They've been short videos, like 30, 60-second videos, and they've been very thought-provoking. I really enjoyed them. Paul is an interdisciplinary artist, musician, photographer, filmmaker. He's got some surrealism. He's got some DIY energy, some design energy. It's like this guy is going to unpack how to creatively unleash energy into the planet.
Yeah, it's kind of just, I guess that's just the everyday, huh?
So if you don't follow Paul on Instagram, go do it immediately. The link's in the bio. Super incredible Instagram news feed every single day, and also stories every single day. They're just lit. Go and follow immediately.
Thank you.
You're super welcome. All right, so let's start by, of course, you already showed us incredible guitar skills. He's got 2 albums on his website. You can go look at them. They are called White Birch and Doll Gods. Well, the Doll Gods is the band
Alt-punk
name.
Oh yes, Doll Gods. So Doll Gods is the band, the first project I've done. The first, I guess, like officially released, recorded project I've done, and that album is called Summerhead, and it's a 7-track, like sort of like alt-punk, surf-punk kind of vibe, a little bit old school, like a little bit of Devo in there, I guess, a little bit of like Violent Femmes and like Riot Girl music and stuff like that, like shouting lead female vocalist Ali Carey, who
Do you like the Pixies?
I love the Pixies.
Yeah.
The
Monkey
Pixies.
Gone to Heaven. That song was on my head the other day, you know. If the devil is 6, then God is 7.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, please, by all means, I love that song.
Yeah,
Released
Monkey Gone to Heaven.
Just a year ago. Ron, you want to show that on the...
Oh,
yeah,
certainly. It's on the TV right now. Talk about it, and I'll get it on your screen there.
All right, thank you. So we'll continue pulling up cool things like this to showcase, because here you have it's coming, the NDI is coming onto the studio screen. All right, so
there we go.
So what's interesting here is you collaborated on this with Ali Carey, who did vocals and guitar.
Yeah.
And then Callan Clark.
Yeah.
Did bass and production.
Yeah.
So, Aaron White did drums as well. So now, do you guys? We're gonna get to all this, but I'm curious. Do you guys are they in Burlington, or are they?
So part of the reason that we had to record this was right before it got released, they actually they moved to the Boston area, where they still are, and they're still making music. They're together. They're a couple, and they're 2 of my best friends. And Ali is actually the lead in my film The Factory.
She's the lead. That's okay.
She's in the Dead Souls music video.
Cool.
Longtime collaborator, also multidisciplinary. She's mostly doing music these days, but she's an educator. See, that's her right there.
That's her right here.
Yeah, and Aaron is the.
And this is one of his 3 films that's on his website.
Yes.
The Factory, The Shadow, and The Dead Souls.
Yeah, well, I've got more than that. The Dead Souls I count as more like just, music video, because, it's supplementary to someone else's music, which is, and then I guess the other full film, I would say, is Cockroach on my website. But the other ones that are kind of floating around there, and some are hidden actually. Some you have to like float over them and see that they're a video. There's stuff I haven't like shown anyone. They're Easter eggs hidden on my website. Oh, this is the factory right here.
What are you doing down there, Alan?
I was getting the Instagram ready. So yeah, you gotta check out his films as well. So now okay, let's start here because you're obviously combining a ridiculous amount of. This is on 16 millimeter film.
Right.
It's a silent film. It's totally different than everything else we see on the internet today.
Yeah, thank you. I'll take it.
I knew you were gonna like that one. Yeah. That's the point of life, isn't it? To be fucking different than everyone.
Exactly.
You know?
And that was actually one of the main goals of the film. I wanted to. I mean, it's not coming out of nowhere. Like there are a lot of filmmakers that I'm hearkening back to from like there's a lot of Czech filmmakers and like Eastern European filmmakers
That's
from
what
the
it
60s
feels
and
like.
70s that I'm calling back to. People that people my age don't tend to know about unless they went to film school, art school, and even then maybe didn't even touch on them at all. So it's like, when an aesthetic is like gone, there's a chance to, and gone, quote unquote, but out of, I guess, like the public eye and like, out of popular iconography, then you can, and there's an opportunity to reuse it and recycle it and to take it and have it mean something new, but like, kind of harken back to the way they made it, the things that they might have meant, that period of time, and so I guess when
what was your intention with it?
My intention was to do just that, to make something that no one else, or to make something that was dissimilar from things that I had seen, while also kind of just, being similar enough to the things I like, I guess. I wanted to, the main goal, I guess, of the factory was a test of myself. And I used to be a big perfectionist, you know what I mean? I used to really worry about the finite details of my work and worry about, everything coming out exactly right, just the way I wanted it in my head, like, oh, it's got to be perfect. And making such a big project on film was sort of a way of coping with that, because with film...
With your perfectionism.
Yeah, with film, it can totally, completely destroy itself. It can totally, shots might not come out at all the way you want them to,
That's
maybe
right.
You expose it and you make sure, you meter it and you make sure everything's looking nice, but then you see the shot and you're like, that's not, that's totally different, especially with a Bolex too, and which was the type of camera I was using. They're old home video cameras, and for instance, you have to crank it by hand. You only get a shot that the longest it could last is 30 seconds on like normal speeds, on normal frame rates, and it comes with a lot of limitations.
This part was crazy when that filing cabinet that was stacked.
Yeah, world's tallest filing cabinet, by the way.
Is
Burlington,
located
Vermont.
in Burlington, Vermont.
Yeah. The reason, it's fun, I didn't know this while I was making it, but the reason they built it was because there was, for a period of time, they were thinking of taking that section of town and making a 4-lane highway right through the town. So what they did was they built that structure there of just like this corporatist piece of art, like just a giant filing cabinet as a way of like, they wanted to do a landmark. So they were like, what hasn't been done? And they did, world's tallest stack of filing cabinets. Put it right up, and that was like, now it's a landmark. Now it's like a visitor's, it's a thing for tourists to go look at. Now there is no tourists, I've never really seen tourists go look at it, but it worked nonetheless. And now it's this kind of like dingy, graffitied up thing, and I just love the image.
It's so good the way you captured it. It's awesome. Nobody, again, Burlington has what, 250,000 people?
Burlington,
Does that have less than a million, right?
No, Vermont has 250,000 people.
Wait, Burlington's like 150K?
Burlington has about 3,500 people, max. at any given
No,
point.
35,000, right?
35,000. Yeah, sorry, that's what I thought.
I was like,
okay,
no.
my
Wait,
bad.
35,000? That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Whoa, I thought it was like 250K. Damn.
No, Vermont is 250,000 people.
In the state of Vermont.
No, sorry,
I was
my
gonna
bad.
say.
It's something like that. I think it's like 600,000.
Vermont's not that small.
It's tiny, dude. Well, it's it's a big-ish state.
Population of Vermont, 623,000.
There we go.
And then population of Burlington is 42K.
Well, I was close.
So, yeah, that's crazy that it's that. Yeah,
there's less people in Vermont than there are in San Francisco, in 7 square miles.
In 7 square miles, exactly.
It's kind of mind-blowing. And you can really feel like the smallness when you're there.
This is your hood, man. I mean, Vermont's right here on... Burlington's right on, what is this lake called?
Lake Champlain.
Lake Champlain.
Yeah.
Ron, can we get this on NDI?
They are getting it on NDI at home.
Okay.
But yeah, I will. Yeah, we'll get there.
So what's interesting about this is Burlington, you would think that it was not so close to Montreal, but it's...
No, it's right there.
It's right there. It's right.
Yeah. Burlington's like a stop to Montreal. That's actually why Burlington really works as like a place.
As a city?
Yeah, it is still a city despite its smallness. And the reason it works is because it's in between Boston and Montreal and New York and Montreal.
Yeah.
And that's the reason it's like a waypoint. It's been a waypoint for like travelers, and like there's a big music scene, and it's surprisingly like prolific and like legit.
They built that filing cabinet when they were like, fuck your corporatist highway.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a pretty cool city if you do that.
There's a lot of really great people in Burlington and a lot of really great ideas. And the way I saw it when I was there and the way I still see it is it's a really good incubator. And that's at least how I used it and how I wanted to see it. It's a great place to like grow and be independent. But like it's very hard for things to leave the town. It takes something that's truly like tremendous to actually like break out of Burlington and into the rest of the world. And there are even things that are just like so awesome and epic, and some bands that are like still chilling in Burlington that it's gonna be, it takes like a move to New York to like actually like go and flourish as like an artist or a band. And
absolutely, in a city of 42K, there's no breakthroughs compared to New York or Montreal or Boston.
Yeah, so nothing quite like that.
Were you there 25 years?
25? Oh no, actually Burlington is just where I went to college. So I went up there as a college freshman, and I
University of Vermont.
Yeah, University of Vermont. And I stayed there, for an extra 3 years or so. So I was only there for about 7 years, but it's a place that can really like.
Where were you before that?
I was in Connecticut, in a place. My hometown was Windsor, and so I lived there. I lived in Enfield, basically just a bunch of subsidiary towns like around Hartford, like suburbs of Hartford, which is the state's capital.
Until you were 17, 18, and then to Burlington.
Yeah, I got the hell out of there.
It's like 7 years in Burlington.
Yeah, and they were great. Cool. They were great 7 years.
Now, tell me a bit about your youth. How did you figure out that art, filmmaking, photos? How did you figure out that this is what you cared about? Well,
the earliest things that I noticed myself being good at were math and were, like art, just creating stuff. I was always like jotting down ideas, drawing. The first thing was drawing, I guess. Yeah. And upon suggestion from my mom, she was like, "Well, you're good at art. You're good at math, so why don't you like try and be an architect or something like that?" I was like, okay, I like architect. I was always building blocks, building Legos. I was like, okay, so I'll start thinking about design and how to build something. So
you would have probably been a good architect.
Thank you. I would still enjoy to be an architect. But
totally. Me too.
It was something about the education system that eventually, it was something about like high school and just like, I don't know, there was a disconnect there, especially with me. Like, I guess I I mean, I was diagnosed with ADHD from a very early age, which I still question whether or not
Yeah, that's
even a real
not a
thing.
disease
It's
of
not
any
even a
sort
real
of
thing.
disorder. It just means you're not buying the bullshit. You
I
don't
know,
have
exactly.
fucking time for the crap. And
precisely.
ADHD my ass.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing I was going to mention next. But because of that diagnosis, you know, it was like the mid '90s, early 2000s. You know, I was shuffled off into like another room, sometimes other classes, and they were like, you know, and you know, I had to take medication, and I was just like, this system sucks. I really hate this. I really hate learning this way. And so the only access I really had to learn math from was that system, and I was just like, I want nothing to do with this. I don't think this is an efficient way to teach people, let alone me, any people at all. And I still don't think it's a good way. Public schools, and I mean, I went to a good one. I'm very grateful for the school I went to. You had to get in by lottery. They pulled from a bunch of different towns. It was a very like kind of experimental type of education.
We're at like version 10 of
Yeah.
a 100 version education system. So
Yeah,
we
and
have a
it-
lot of room for improvement.
Yeah, and it moves very slow. Anything legislative and having to do with the government, it just moves too slow for the modern age. You know, we can
Can't keep up with VR, AR, cryptocurrencies, biotechs, blockchains.
Yeah,
Can't keep
let
up with
alone.
that
Have you been
stuff.
on a government website lately?
It's a joke.
Be careful.
Yeah, it's
be careful. Be careful. Don't talk about the government. They'll kill
Oh,
us.
sorry.
They'll assassinate.
But yeah, for its multi-trillion dollars, it can do better. for
Yeah,
sure.
it can do a lot better. Why
it's
can't we
pretty
just
good.
vote on our? Yes.
Continue though, as a child.
Yeah.
Yes.
I digress. It
We do,
was
yes.
so I just wanted nothing to do with
Tangent.
learning things that way. So art was the thing that I wanted to do when I got home. So I played guitar. I played a lot of video games actually. I watched a lot of movies, watched a lot of TV. I was always taking in. I was always putting out drawing, taking photos and stuff like that. And that was just my extracurricular. That was like those were my hobbies. And they developed naturally quicker than the things I was learning at school. So
Totally.
it's like art. Art's the thing I'm good at, you know. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna try and do my best and be my best at it.
How long did you? How old were you when you picked up the guitar?
I think my mom put me in guitar lessons when I was about 9, something
9.
like that.
Cool.
But I really didn't take.
Shout
to
out to Paul's mom.
Yeah. Big shout out to Mom. Love you.
What's mom's name?
Sandra Uriano
Sandra.
Rogers.
Sandra Ouellette?
No, Uriano Rogers. She's
Uriano Rogers.
Can we get her on the phone?
Can we get Sandra on the phone,
I'm not
please?
going to call my mom right now.
Sandra, what I can
Fair
say
enough.
from knowing nothing about you except one fact, thank you for putting Paul into guitar lessons when he was 9.
Thank you.
And for birthing him into the world and
That-
raising him.
that too,
Yeah,
that
and
too.
you raising him and nurturing his soul.
Nurturing
and
his soul, yeah.
good
Yeah.
stuff.
We
Sounds
can
like-
call it that.
Okay, yes. So guitar at 9's good. That's a good start, guitar lessons especially.
Yeah, but once again, I really didn't take to them. I didn't practice actively, and I didn't realize that it was just me breaking through like a learning curve. I was really frustrated until about like freshman, sophomore year of college when I really started like actively. It just kind of clicked. I like figured it out. I was like, oh, it actually had
Quick
to do-
question before we get there.
Yeah.
What were you watching? You were talking about watching all of these films and stuff. What were you watching? Because how the fuck did you get this eye? You know, you're capturing stuff in 2018, but you have this edge from like 1960 at the same time.
Yeah,
you know?
a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
old stuff, and I guess that's true with the music that I listen to as well. A lot of my tastes come from my parents. They were nerds. They met at a video store.
You met at a video store.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I mean,
What was the video store called back then?
Oh boy.
Which one was it?
I think it might have just been a Blockbuster. I think
Okay.
my mom was managing a Blockbuster at the time. At
Interesting.
least that's the
Yeah.
story.
Gosh, back then that was like the Apple back then, you know?
Yeah, something
It was
like
a
that.
big deal back then. Blockbuster was.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. That was the way you acquired media.
Yeah, and people loved, back then that
Yeah.
was brand new, was going and renting a VHS tape. That
Yeah.
was fucking big deal, man.
Yeah,
We would
yeah,
make a whole trip out to the store to go rent a VHS cassette. Yeah.
You would get a stack for the whole week, you know? And it's just like these 5 movies will get me through the week. And if you watched them all, like if you had maybe one too many double feature nights or whatever, then you just had to watch them again or something.
The same way we go on YouTube for 2 hours at the end of this night, back then there was no access to that, so we would pick those movies. And
what was that picture there? Hold on, stand by. That this one here. Where is it? Right here. Yeah. What's up with that?
This
rocks.
one?
Yeah. Teach us about this. How you do this?
This was on my cell phone actually.
Please.
I took this one on my cell phone. Which is a Galaxy.
Is there a filter on it? I mean, what?
A little bit of both.
Galaxy S9.
You shout out to Samsung, still having the best cameras on phones. Fuck. No, I'm not gonna say it.
Damn.
You know what I was about to say though.
Damn, you just pulled the S9 card.
Yeah.
Damn. Didn't think you'd pull the S9 card on us. Damn. Okay. Cool. All right.
But so, I had an S5 before this, and I was completely enamored with that camera. What I realized is that I needed to have a good camera on me at all times, and so the best way to do that was obviously with a nice phone. And,
I thought you were gonna say with an S9.
No.
They have the best camera on me.
No, but so this was through so on the N sometimes I notice, and I guess it's not just the
That's a Muni
N.
line in San Francisco. It's like a light rail transit line.
Yeah, and so this is on the wall, and there was just oil smeared on the wall. And I like to take pictures like through odd panes of glass, or like with like an additional layer, you know. So there's the lens, and then there's there's a window, or there's a mirror, or there's like a reflection, or a puddle, and then I take the picture through that, so it kind of like you know gives it a look.
Yep.
And so there's just fucking this.
Sometimes
oil.
you shoot it as a blur, like.
Yeah. Sometimes there's just like no discernible image per se, you know, it's just abstract, but there was just some oil smeared on the wall of the N for some reason. I don't know why.
I can tell you why. But Paul has this instinct to, rather than make the photo, his instinct is, I want to put another layer before the photo. It's yeah. And that's really unique, again, is people don't think about, how can I add a layer before the photo to make it unique? That in itself is very unique and interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just something I've always had an inkling to do. I don't know.
Because it's unique, it's different. And you know, when I was looking at this, I was like, Paul Ouellette could start his own filter company for photos. And you could just, if you
just sell oil smeared black.
Well, oil smears one. What was the other one? Puddle, like a puddle, like a
puddle,
reflection shot.
Yeah. Yeah, I've taken a lot of those.
This IP is officially go make this into the world, people, please.
Yeah, please go take pictures in puddles. Is it this camera?
Yeah, whatever you want. Yeah, go ahead.
You can take pictures in puddles, like do it.
And then definitely stomp around in those puddles like a little kid. Okay, so it seems as though a lot of the background to you is exposure to able to have your own creativity explored.
Yeah, I guess actualization, just like anybody else. It's just about like just trying to further yourself with everything. It weirds me out sometimes, like to see artists that find and solidify a style and can do that their whole lives and never break out of it per se. And it's not a negative thing or a positive thing, and some days I'm envious of it, but for me it's hard for me to I land on a thing and I try it and I feel like I become very comfortable with it, not to a point of mastery or anything, but developing a intense comfort with a certain mode of making things, and then I'm like, Next. There's no need to dwell on it for so long, I don't think, because I guess what might separate me from other artists per se is that it's more about the idea being communicated than necessarily the making of art itself, whether it sound a certain way or look a certain way, just kind of communicating something and being done with it when it's done being said. No reason to beat a dead horse, I guess.
Yeah. So, okay, now there's something that I think is really pressing here. You made a move from Burlington to San Francisco. Mm-hmm. So that move is a powerful move.
Yeah, it took a while.
Yeah, and just the sheer amount of powerful nodes that you ended up moving yourself to.
Yeah.
So anyway, we talk about that a lot on the show, is network theory and nodes and influence and power.
So a lot of people in this town. So a lot of people, and
it's
more
not just people. It's the amount of influence that those people have.
That too, and there's also
the largest tech companies in the world. A lot of them are in the Bay Area. Yeah.
Yeah, and it also, I mean, it has to do with, there's a particular magic in the air here. It's not even just it was here before the city was built. You know, it was
Yerba
here.
Buena, a good herb.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's that magic.
It's been
in
here
the
for
air
a
too.
while. Yeah, this magic air.
Yeah, I mean, it made whatever it was made a bunch of people go, They saw a bunch of sand dunes, and they were like, let's build an entire city on this.
Which the city will literally build the next 150 years of civilization.
Yeah, well, this and many others. However, I mean, unless the sea levels rise too much, in which case a lot of it's going to be underwater.
I almost went like 36 hours not thinking about those catastrophes that are on their way, inevitable sea rises and hurricanes and earthquakes and Yosemite blowing up.
Yeah, it's hard to...
Yellowstone.
It's hard to...
You had to bring it up. Oh, my God.
Yeah,
we can't let you slide.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I mean, it's tough to rely on this city being here another 100, 200 years, you know? I mean, not to say that it's not going to be, but it's hard to say for sure that it's going to be, you know? I guess it's true of anything, but...
Especially when all the artists come like you and kick out all the techies, you know, the reverse.
Yeah, that's fucking happening, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Well, you laugh right now, right? But, you know, with the transition, with the automation transition, you never know. Artists may be the next engineers.
Well, communication's always important.
It's funny, the next, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like Plaid coming back into style or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Here I am. Yeah, wearing it.
You're gonna do it, man. You're gonna bring Plaid back.
So you made the move. I want to know why you made the move.
Well, I guess we touched upon it earlier. In many ways, there's a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons is that in the town that is Burlington, as beautiful as it is and as wonderful as all the people are, incredibly nice people. Vermont is like one of the kindest states in the Union. Like it's one of the happiest. It actually just took over Hawaii as the happiest state in the entire United States.
Damn.
I've always felt that way about Vermont. I've been to Vermont, you know, I'm from back east, and there was a certain pleasantness, that it was an energy that was, you know, you felt, you sensed these are good people here. Their heart is in the right place.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you had that, you know, and you had it in you to develop that within yourself, and you know, now welcome to San Francisco, California, bitch. You know what I'm saying? It's totally opposite. So yeah.
Well, yeah, there's definitely. I mean, the people here are friendly in their own way as well. They're just not. I mean, it's not like Vermont, because I guess with Vermont too, there's probably like a mutually assured discomfort come the winter, so everybody has a lot of respect for one another, just for, I guess, literally surviving in Vermont.
6 months of freezing cold temperatures.
Yeah, sometimes 7. So it's just like, you know,
so
like,
where
thank
did
you
that
for
rank,
not dying.
Where did that rank on
Winter?
your list of reasons to move to California?
It shifts between number 1 and number 2.
Yeah, it's like funny because similarly for me, it's like network effect and getting away from 6 months of freezing cold temperatures in South Dakota and Minnesota.
Yeah,
they're like so close to each other.
No way, no how. Never again. I was like, okay, one more winter, and then I'm going anywhere.
Towards the equator, baby.
Yeah, and it's funny. So San Francisco was actually the challenge mode for me. San Francisco was the harder of the two options I had really like mulled down, because I whittled it down from Boston, Philadelphia, New York, and San Francisco.
Interesting, because the other ones were all really close to where you are.
Exactly.
And it's cool that you pulled the big leap. Because,
yes, for sure. Yeah. I felt like you know, I had the really difficult, because San Francisco is very expensive, so it's hard to save up the money, and it's very far, so that's an additional cost.
Yeah.
And then also like just all the effort too, but it also presented a really awesome opportunity to move far and to experience that entire move. So I did the move physically. I shipped my stuff, and then I took the train on over. A combination of going down to, I went down to Harrisburg for a film festival with, it was just a ride share I found on Craigslist actually. And then I took my stuff, I shipped it, and I came via train to...
Via Amtrak?
Yeah, via Amtrak to Emeryville, and then of course just bust in San Francisco. Then my stuff arrived like a week later. Yeah.
So I'm so grateful for Preston Curley. Because he introduced us. Big shout out to Preston Curley.
Yeah, we like Preston.
Preston is my boy.
Huge shout out. Yeah, we love you, Preston.
I think I deleted him though when I found out he was a Trump supporter though. That's my only thing on Facebook.
God. He doesn't even know if they're Trump supporters. He just sees that they like.
That's right. It was just a bad day. You know, I just went to the site.
He's a Trump supporter.
That's why I said.
Well, that's the thing. I don't even want, you know.
It's just a like. It's not support.
He seems more like a Bernie guy to me. He's probably a guy to begrudgingly vote for Hillary.
Bernie's from Vermont.
He had to. Bernie's from Burlington.
You know, my theory on that.
That's what happened with me.
Is they kind of.
All right.
Never mind.
I voted for Jill Stein.
Yeah, she was good too.
Yes, we still have so much to talk about, and we haven't even.
Yeah.
You know, thank you, Preston. Huge shout out to you. Now. Okay. Yes. Please. Yes. Enjoy for a moment. Guys, see what I'm talking about? Like, who the makes content like this in 2019? You know?
Yeah. This is
you're at a uniqueness level of 9,000. It's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a tough time parsing together the things I make sometimes. I'm like, why did I do this? You know, so I just feel an energy, and I just kind of try and go with it. With my inspirations.
You know, at the beginning of our videos now, you were talking about like you get better and better at doing something. Well, I've gotten better at Premiere. So I started to take the segments from the show, from the interview, and I threw them at the beginning, and I made it black and white to make it like a flash forward. Right?
Yeah.
And so I was just thinking about, you know, you should teach me how to make the thing like so that it looks like the flash forward has at least a little bit of like a real thing going on. Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
You could do that with some overlays and stuff. But this is real film. That's why it looks like that.
That's what I'm saying. There's ways to digitally do this, but this guy's doing it analog style.
And not quite this stuff too. One of the reasons I like the Bolexes is that they have their own like fingerprint. Every one is different because they were all made like at least, even the newest models were made at least like 30, 40 years ago.
B-O-W?
B-O-L-E-X, Bolex. And so...
Interesting. So
they're,
is this what it looks like?
What are you looking at?
Right there.
It's coming up. Is this what it looks like, man? Whoa.
Yeah, that's the camera I use, essentially.
Whoa.
I
love
it. It's not. Is that an old ad, or is that how much they cost nowadays?
It depends on which ones you want to get. Mine are, so that was roughly similar to, that one's basically the one I used to make those. Now I have two different ones. The one I was using at the time was essentially one I absconded from UVM. And I was just using that for a hot second. Like, I just kind of had that until I returned it before I left.
That's awesome. And of course,
no one needed it. No one asked about it. No one cared. No one cared that they had this gem of a thing.
Yeah, look at that. That's great.
God, this is gorgeous.
Yeah. And also, let's just look at them. How can you not be inspired by that?
We tangent again. Paul's very polymathic. And so we're going to end up tangenting too much.
It's that ADHD, I guess.
Well, you're two polymaths sitting in chairs.
I know.
Yeah.
I think that's essentially what an ADHD diagnosis means. It's like, oh, you probably you know stuff. You like a bunch of different stuff.
At the beginning of the show, I was going to say that. But, we're great minds think alike. Okay, Paul, we need to talk about this. All right, what is going on with the evolution of art and distribution of art and multimedia?
Yeah.
It's been crazy. It went from you would only be able to have a tangible analog copy of something, to now when it's digitized, everyone in the world can have
It's like
one.
next, new, save to collection. You've got collections on Facebook, you've got collections on Instagram, you've got collections on your phone, you've got collections on micro SD cards that you can plug into anything. You've got stuff stored on iTVs, you know, or Apple TVs or whatever, on the cloud, on your smart TV and Chromebooks or what, you know, I don't know. It's just, does anyone have Chromebooks? I don't know.
Yeah, students definitely do.
Tablets,
Yeah.
you know, it's everywhere. And you own, it's people own everything and they own nothing. You know what I mean? Because one of the things, you know, people are really protective of their art these days. They put like watermarks on it and all this stuff, and I just don't really care. It's like whatever, it belongs to the world. And also there's so much of it, nobody cares. Every single individual, you know. That's one of the reasons I like to shift around and make, like one of the things a friend of mine said to me recently, you know, I was trying to like rearrange my Instagram, my website, and he was just like, well, you know, man, no one's looking as close as you are. And I was like, you know, you're right.
That's a great point.
Not a single person is paying as much attention to you as you are.
That's right.
And so that's kind of why I just put so much out there in hopes that I've got to, you know, people are like, oh, put less stuff on your website. It's like I could pare it down, but I kind of want there to be, if someone wants to spend a whole day looking at my stuff, if they feel so compelled, I kind of want it to be there. If they want to spend the, I don't know, if they want to really put in the effort, who am I to deny them? And I don't expect anybody to do so, but I would like somebody to do so, and hopefully it'll find somebody one day that it will really affect.
That's right.
You know, just like I know it's happened to me where I find somebody's Bandcamp and they're not really well known, and I'm just like, you are one of the greatest musicians I've ever heard, and you're just like this nobody on Bandcamp, and you're, well, yet anyway, you're somebody to me. And you know, you download the album, you listen to it, and you just hope that maybe one day they find the rest of their audience or their success, or, you know, I guess we're all just trying to live good life, good lives, and for me, creativity and creating things and putting them out there in the world is essential in that, and that's the only thing I really know for sure right now. And if there's something that's going to click into place for me, like my place or my niche creatively, and it'll just click, as so long as I keep putting my stuff out there.
Yeah, you point towards the importance of having a content library.
Yes, exactly. The backlog is essential.
It's so essential. It's so essential. When you only have 1 or 2 or even 100 pieces of content, interestingly enough, you become more difficult to discover.
Yeah.
You become easier to discover with more content.
Yes.
And people can say, oh, whoa, I didn't know that he had 20 pieces of content in this category. Instead of just 1.
Yeah, they go to the website from your Instagram, they think you're a photographer, or they think you're just a musician, or they think you're just this or just that. And they're like, oh, he does other things. He directs a film. He works with this company. He's the head designer or photographer for whatever, you know. Oh, look at all the rest of the work I have. Oh, and the products too, and I like that company now. And all these change to different things, you know.
They do.
And I guess the thing that people are coming to terms with on social media and on, like, you know, the main platforms that we distribute art on, like Vimeo, Facebook, YouTube, all these things, Instagram. And I think people are coming to terms right now with their lack of overall importance on and individuality in this giant, mostly homogenous stream of information.
That's right.
And that's when
there's no place to discover people that only have 300 or less followers.
Yeah, that's one of the things. I really don't like the way the algorithms are working these days, where they only want you to see things that a bunch of people are looking at, as opposed to things that nobody's looking at. There's no reverse. There's no Instagram. There's no social media platform where you see the things that nobody is seeing. You know, there's also
partially a reason why that is, right?
Well, yeah.
There's partially a reason why.
Well, there's a lot of reasons why that is. It's just, why is there no reason to switch it? That's the thing. Why is there no reason to have the option?
Yeah, it would need to be partially based on giving people opportunities to showcase themselves in a greater spotlight So the algorithm could then pull someone that has less of a follower count into news feeds to see how well it does.
It used to be that's the way it...
Yeah, thank you, Ron. So, yeah, this is only the beginning of this conversation, but
Yeah.
I want to continue talking about this because I have some questions for you at the end. But
Yeah.
please continue what you were saying.
The real death, the real like it's like the before and after is the chronological news feed. I think on Instagram, it was
you
like,
can't discover things from 15 days ago or from. A
yeah,
couple
yeah.
months
It
ago.
used to be such that you saw it as it was being released. You know, it's like this was 3 hours ago. This was 5 hours. You know, you got to see the whole day, and I really liked seeing the world that way. It's like, oh, this is what the morning looked like somewhere. This is what the. But now it's like it's devolved into this weird like hashtag contest. You know, where it has nothing to do with content. Where it feels like it's really not.
Oh.
You know, it felt like it used to be about the content because there was this fairly unbiased way of seeing it, you know. If you followed somebody and they posted something at a certain time, you saw that and you saw when they posted it, you know. And you got to see, you looked at it at 2 and you saw things that were just released at 2 or 1 or whatever. And so that gave things at least a chance to be their own content. Whereas now it's like I follow somebody with 600 followers and I follow somebody with 14,000. I'm going to see the content from the 14,000 follower one, and rarely, no matter how much I engage with the 600 one, am I going to see their content, you know, no matter how much they like my stuff and how much I like their stuff.
Are you sure about that? Because I think if you go and like them, they like you, if you follow each other, and then you go comment on each other's stuff, you
will see it, but it only lasts like a day and a half, you know, and it completely wears away when the engagement is not necessarily there. And it used to be such that you so if you followed them, you saw their content. And now it seems like it's less that way. Now it seems like, why am I seeing so much content from this person that is like more of a tangent to my interests?
Sure.
Whereas now, you know, it's like if you followed 600 people or whatever.
Let me ask you this question then.
Yeah.
What would your ideal design of an artist discovery platform look like?
Oh boy, I don't know. I don't design them generally,
Give me a general principle or two that you think would be important.
I guess that's a really tough question. I've never been asked that.
You know your boy's got those good questions.
I know. Yes, I should have prepared more. What would it look like? I really don't know. I think we have some pretty good ones right now. It's just they have problems, and I'd like to see, I guess one of the things I'd like to see is, regardless of it being any one specific platform, you know, the internet's kind of becoming like TV, and social media is kind of becoming like the channels that you use.
That's right.
And so right now, every single platform, it doesn't want to be the channel, it wants to be the TV itself. It wants to be all of your channels, and it just can't work that way. And I think there's going to be a wave where there's a lot of minor, like more niche-based boutique social media platforms for specific kinds of creation and specific genres. Yeah. So you'll have your goth rock one, and you'll have your, you know, I don't know, you'll have your Polaroid only one or whatever, and it's not going to be like, so like Reddit wants to be the entire TV. You've got R, you've got R, all of those things, but it's the way that that you engage with that makes it ineffective for certain things and more effective for other things. And so there's going to need to be things that come in and fill in the blanks, and those things need to be allowed into the market. And right now it's so saturated, and especially the way I guess the economy works, though I'm no expert on that, it seems like there's no room and no money flowing to those small things to like come up. I see ads sometimes.
A lot of the attention economy is saturated with incumbency.
There you go. Yeah, no, for sure. Much like our government.
We're gonna get in trouble. You know, we're gonna get in trouble if we keep bad mouthing the government.
That's good. No, it's really refreshing seeing some young people get into Congress.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, let me know how that works out for everybody.
Engineers and artists.
Vote your problems away. Yeah, I want to vote for me for president of the world.
I'll Ron Vargas for president. going right now.
Everybody
you
wants
brought-
to rule the world.
You brought something really interesting to attention, which was that every channel wants to be a TV.
Yeah.
That was very funny that you said that, because Facebook's trying to take all of your attention. YouTube's trying to take all of your attention.
Yeah, it's funny
Instagram,
because the same
Twitter.
people own a lot of the two. You know, it's like, why do you need to get all of everybody and all like the rest? And they're kind of looking exactly the same too. It's like I go on
There's
Facebook.
a story here and a story here. Now
It's like,
YouTube
what's the
lets you
fucking
post
difference?
into the feed.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, I made a post into our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Like it's in the news feed of the channel with like a not
didn't
a
know
video.
that existed.
There's like a community feed for your subscribers now.
I hate that.
It's like, who looks at the
It's
YouTube
awful.
news feed?
That's awful. Why am I? Yeah, and they're all trying to expand and take up so much of the market, and so much of these things are failing so bad. Like one of the few, it's like every new thing they want to be successful, like Instagram stories. You know, Instagram stories are great. I love them.
Yeah.
They're like the Snapchat killer, the Vine killer.
The Vine killer, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's like, I mean, Vine was already dead, but it like really put the
Yeah.
nail in the coffin with that
If
one.
we see Twitter stories, which we kind of already do in some.
I don't
Anyway.
actually use Twitter because I hate Twitter.
I have, yeah, I do
I hate
too
that
in some,
format of
in
communicating.
We
It's a
like
weird-
to be careful with the
definitely
word hate.
Sorry.
we have-
well, I'm an artist. I'm supposed to say these things, and you guys are supposed to deny them.
No, these are good things you're saying.
Yeah.
All right. I want to ask you, what is because you were touching on this a little bit earlier. You were talking about the future of distribution in art being the sort of boutique, sort of artisanal curations.
Yeah, it's like you'll pay like $3. It's like the real TV channels are trying to do this right now, but it doesn't work because they're TV channels and their programs don't. Their content doesn't transfer in that way because it's still designed. It still has breaks for commercials. You know, it's still designed for a television format, and it just can't work that way. You know. But you see things more successfully that used to be like, I don't know, like Crunchyroll or whatever, used to be something that was, you would go on for free and it would be mostly like illegally put up content, you know? And somehow now they've transferred over to being like a legitimate streaming platform, that kind of thing. It's like the content needs to come from the internet, not come from the TV to the internet. So I don't know. One of my favorite ones is Boomerang. I actually they have a decent streaming service, and I like that you can watch like old cartoons. And the same with Adult Swim. But it just kind of seems like those things aren't transferring in the way that I don't know. It's just not. It's not working. There's a disconnect. TV, not internet. You know. It's a certain format. Like, you know, why is your stuff still 30 minutes? You know, why is your stuff still 45 to an hour? It's like it's designed for a different mode of consuming. With the internet, it's random. You know, with the internet, you're looking at an image, then you see a minute-long video, then you see a 30-second video, then you're watching a whole episode, then you're back to looking at a ton of images. It's like you need all the content and only like a specific kind of vein of the content sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to
I'm
describe.
really happy that you're starting to talk about all of this because it's stirring up a lot of important conversations that hopefully we will have on the program soon.
Yeah.
Because the more that we talk about the future of attention economics and social media and distribution and art is all very fascinating conversation. I want to ask you, what is the most profound artistic epiphany that you've had?
That I've had, the most profound one. I think this about a lot of things. It's once you get to a certain like level, once you get above like a certain bar, then it's like they're all the same, you know, because so many people like debate, you know, who's the best filmmaker, who's the best artist, and there's a line where like you just like reach that and you pass it and you're just like, okay, I'm one of the best, you know. There's like everything is number one past that point. So what's the best epiphany I've ever had? I don't know. There are some that fit into that category, but a revelation? I'm not sure. I guess some of my formative ones were probably in listening to like Pink Floyd in my youth. I really love Pink Floyd. They're one of my favorite bands. Probably one of my favorite like artistic collaborative efforts ever in all of like probably one of the most influential things on me actually is Pink Floyd in everything that it is. whether it be like the films that accompany it during their live shows or the light shows or the way they perform, the music itself, the lyrics, the album covers. One of the things that clicked when I was listening to them, I really loved their album art. And then I realized that they had a company, and specifically an art director, curating everything, and that was Storm Thorgerson. He did all their album artwork, and he did a lot of their film.
Can you call some of his the work up, maybe? Because it actually is very.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
I was always intrigued by the characters that were assholes. It was an actual asshole. Are you familiar with? And the wall, you know,
that was Gerald Scarf drawing all that stuff. But
battery ran out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're running out of time.
Yeah.
Too here,
Okay.
but that's
Okay.
all right.
Let me follow up.
Fascinating.
Yeah,
Paul,
this is a
you're
really
an
good show.
incredible human being. This
Thank
is
you,
great.
thank you.
He's one of the real arts. He's high art.
Likewise.
He's high art. He's high, fine.
Yeah. When Preston
the
basically
Museum
said,
of
he's
Fine
like, I know
Arts.
you two will really like each other, and yeah, it so happened to be that we really like each other.
Yeah.
So, Paul,
Well, what do you mean by that?
you'll see.
You know, what,
We'll
in
see
what
what he
way?
means, right?
I
You'll
mean,
see later tonight.
come on.
Yeah,
now.
you'll see later tonight. All right. Okay. You made one reference to the first part of your comment about profound epiphany. Please tell the viewers, teach us right now, where is that threshold for you when you break through and then you're like, oh, everyone up here is like number one, you know?
Oh, I don't. It depends. It's all subjective, you know. Everybody's got that. Everybody's got their own like way of like gauging and judging. And I don't know. Oh, I guess you know. I used to have like really concrete definitions of it, and I don't really adhere to those anymore. But those used to be like, say for instance, with a musician, if you could on your instrument or whatever, like really kind of adapt yourself to any context and any style, like that really got you into like that place for me. So there's certain markers, but there's no real like defining characteristic. But for me, there's just I don't know. There's a sweet spot that certain artists hit where their aesthetic and their mastery over whatever it is that whether they make images or they make music or whatever, their mastery of it combined with the things they're trying to communicate really just like hit it right here for you, and you're just like, that is a completely new way of looking at it, and I've never thought of it that way. And thank you so much for showing me that. And thank you. You know, it's just like, it's just something. Good art connects you to everything. Good art is really, it's very spiritual when you can like really. When I watch a really good film, I feel a connection to all of the human race. You know what I mean? It's just all working together, and I'm just like, I'm just in it and I'm feeling it. I guess the last.
What are one of your, a couple of your favorite films? Like of all the films, you know, that's good that you go back to Pink Floyd and you go back before your time. You know, are there any older films that had an impact on you?
Older films. So some of my earliest. I'll list off a few, some honorable mentions. So with favorites, it's tough for me. Like people are like, "What's your favorite film?"
Yeah.
I'm like, I know.
I understand, but there are certain ones that influenced you in more than others, in a way somehow perhaps.
So I guess some of the most influential films on me recently, and some of the most influential films on me in making things that you're seeing here on this screen, are probably there's Alice or Alenka, which is a Czech version of Alice in Wonderland by a filmmaker called Jan Svankmajer. And he's one of the greats. He's one of the greatest animators that's ever lived. And he got me onto the whole 16mm thing, because he was doing everything on 16mm. There's also Daisies, which is an essential film of the Czech Black Wave. Or I think it's Polish, actually, so it would be wrong to call it Czech, but it's part of that movement. It really does feel, it's like very similar. Or Polish Black Wave, whatever. It's a good film. And Apocalypse Now had a big influence on me. Brazil is one of my favorite films. Koyaanisqatsi, which is almost entirely time-lapse, and scored by Philip Glass. Amazing film. And in fact, all the films in that series done by Godfrey Reggio and Ron Fricke are excellent films. Samsara was done by that cinematographer, Ron Fricke.
This is totally out of my league. These films, I've never heard of them.
He told me about Samsara,
I have to go.
And it was one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, isn't it? That's a profound experience rolled into a film.
Please, let's stay on that for a moment as we end. This notion of this profound spiritual experience that someone made art that was so connecting and just pierced into your soul, and it increased your awareness. That is your description of art.
Well, art is, I guess, even more condensed than that. The main definition I have for art is sacred communication.
I love that.
That's
Those
all
are
it is.
great words for it.
Say 2 words: sacred communication. It's just.
I love it, bro.
Yeah, it's something, someone trying to communicate something, and it's so profound and complex that you put it on the altar of sacredity. I mean, you see it in the way we talk about, like, oh, he's my idol, he's a god, or she, or they. They're a god with a camera, with a guitar, on the piano. They're my my poetry idol. You know.
Were we talking about how this is being under attack? That's another thing. You talk about sacredness, and I was saying that our creative efforts are they're under attack.
The fact that you call art sacred communication, and art has been for so long.
They want to dumb that shit down. They want
sacredity.
Stupid.
Everyone's always attacking one another. Everyone's sacredity is always under attack from someone else's idea of what is sacred.
Yeah.
You know, I hear people, they're like, I give them that definition, and they're like, well, be careful, because that gives it like a religious context. And I'm like, well, is it not? Is religion not? Religions are just giant multimedia pieces of art.
Your definition's so funny.
They just happen to have big, I mean, like, what the fuck? You walk into a church, like, what else is that? Other than a giant collaborative piece of art, you have stories that you tell, you've got a special stage, you've got a special speaker, you've got special windows, you've got special architecture.
Special books,
special paintings, special rules. It's just a big art piece.
It's so funny.
You're just like, it's like, you know, people get into fights over whether or not, like, their favorite movie is better than the other person's
Just like
favorite
same
movie.
thing with religion.
Yeah, people start wars over that shit.
Yeah.
Nobody started a war over a movie just yet, to my knowledge, but I think obviously people have been like, obviously great violent acts have been perpetrated over films and over pieces of art. Another one of my favorite makers, Louie Boone, one of the original surrealists, you know, right up there with Dali and this shit. Some of his films back in the day getting shown in Paris, they sparked riots, people burning the theater, people throwing Molotov cocktails at the fucking movie theater on the opening night, just in anticipation of the film that he was getting released, that was about to get released. And I guess another tangent too is, where do we find that in the modern day? How do we find something that someone's gonna care about so much that I guess they like? How do you turn a photograph into something that people are gonna like? It's gonna spark such a debate where people become violent. Not that that's my end goal, but it's like that's a signifier of an important idea. If people are so invested in that.
That's a really beautiful way to understand memetics. Is, can you make some sort of art that is so creative and thought-provoking that it gets so virally shared because people have some sort of like that controversy with the color of the dress. Because people saw it different colors, right? And so, but this would be more like, how ridiculous is it that Earth still hasn't figured out how to work together as one organism moving forward?
Probably the biggest one I can think of like that right now is probably the whole thing with Colin Kaepernick and like Nike, like, you know, that's kind of an equivalent to that. It's like people have, and I guess the kneeling on the football field. It's not to get like too political, I guess, but that's a thing that really sparked. It's such a simple notion, you know.
Such
it's just a simple bit of performance.
Simple bit of performance. Yeah, I always want to see if people can either make a single sort of item. You're right that kneeling and whatnot is like a single item, but this sort of, you know, can you design something that just goes out as a digital asset and gets the whole world thinking about why haven't we figured out how to work together?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's tough.
Yes.
To get anything that reaches the whole world.
Well,
I don't think it's, even though we're so connected.
Aim high is a lot. You know, that's one of the most important things.
I don't know.
Yeah, in really high.
World.
If you're not moonshotting, then GTFO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know the saying,
moonshot.
shoot for the moon, or you land amongst the stars. At least, anyway. But
At least.
you know.
I want you to play on the way out, but I want to ask you a couple quick questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think we're alone in the cosmos?
Oh, obviously not. Like the whole universe? No, there's something else. It's like whether or not, you know, we've been contacted or whatever, it's just like, that's all just hearsay until we have the facts, you know. No, duh. And if we are right now, then certainly we will not be forever. It's just the nature of like the odds are against it.
Is that interesting? If we are, we certainly won't be forever. Let's hope that we're not alone and there's something other than us to come in and save the day somehow.
Only one way to find out, though. Those things that are so inconcrete like that, beautiful to speculate on, but hard to. Of course, if you can't put your finger on it, you know, then it's just a debate until it becomes like confirmed. So.
I think the same thing about Ron's sex life.
Yeah.
Why do we have to bring up sex in this show? Why do you do that? I'm going to take you to fucking court. It's going to be me against Paul Spiegel, and you're fucking done. I'll sue you for just, you know.
It wouldn't make sense if it was you against Paul Spiegel. Yeah. Dirt. Okay, are we in a simulation?
No, I don't think so. I think this is reality, and it's just because it would be tough to. I don't know. That's such a complex apparatus that it must be designed on. Though once again, there's no way to tell. And I guess we're all in kind of our own simulation, you know. Especially if you think about the way psychologically, especially if you think about psychologically the way our brain can conjure up things that aren't necessarily, like derive meanings from things that aren't necessarily in those things.
Absolutely.
Then it's like, I mean, if you think about that feedback loop, we're all in our own little worlds.
100%. Like it. All right. And what do you think is the most beautiful thing in the world?
What do I think is the most beautiful thing in the world? In this one? On the earth?
Take it where you want it.
I don't know. Most beautiful thing. Once again, I guess it has to do with that. Once you hit a certain point, like they're all the most beautiful things, you know, past a certain line. There's some, I guess.
You brought that back. That was good. Continue, please.
What is the most beautiful thing in the world? I can give you a few things that are in that category. Oh, I don't know. I guess something simple. I really like sunsets.
Yeah.
Stunningly beautiful.
Yes.
Ocean Beach, probably one of the most beautiful things in the world. Something about water, which actually you can see throughout my work. It's something that I'm always fascinated by, the bending of light. Very much not water. Sort of water.
Sort of, yeah.
Water. I guess just the nature that we can have a particular consciousness where we get to even indulge and enjoy these things.
Yes.
You know, that to me is one of the things I'm most thankful for. You know, we're not like insects, thankfully. We're not, I mean, they have their own very specific perceiving of things, but
to super intelligence, we are insects, but
yeah, exactly. But I mean, who's to say whether or not we have that potential in ourselves that we just haven't tapped into, you know, in each individual mind.
A lot of people have.
I think so. I was talking to
tapped in.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody earlier today about like a particular kind of like hearing. Like we were by the end, and he was just making conversation with me, and he was like, "Well, it's kind of weird that that's really loud." As a I had my guitar with me. He's like, "As a musician, you know, do you think that like, you know, such a loud sound hurts your ears perhaps more than someone else's that maybe doesn't have the trained ears?" And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know necessarily what you mean by the training. I guess I can filter out a loud sound near me and hear a sound far away, and
work the muscle.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like anything else. It's like he's like, oh, well, that's a very distinct ability that you must have because you play a lot. And I'm just like, no, probably not. It's just, it must be. I think it's something that most people have, and it's just about knowing you have it and knowing how to tap into it and use it.
You referenced mastery earlier. You know, you're bringing it up again.
Yeah.
I'm a very big fan of mastery. All right, let's get that.
Let's get that mic stand back here. thumb pick.
Hey.
Oh, when do you want me to start? By
Let's close out the show and then we'll have you play on the way out, like after. Wait.
Okay, it's gonna be tough for me not to. I'll just put this right here. It's like if you've ever dealt with a room full of musicians that all have instruments in their hands, that's like total chaos. Some people think being like first grade teachers is like total chaos, but I would say dealing with a room full of experienced musicians that are mature adults that all have their instruments is probably much harder. It's just like, stop playing, please. Anything, just stop it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it feels more right to have you play and then close the show.
Oh, I'll take it.
Let's do it.
I got no complaints.
Will you tell us a little also about what exactly is, going on the guitar?
Like what I do?
Yeah.
I guess, so this kind of style is either referred to as new acoustic, and it used to be referred to as American primitivism, which obviously fell out of favor because it's a little bit condescending. The American primitive, the idea was that you were adapting like classical and like jazz styles to like, roots music, like folk and blues and stuff like that. And so it had this kind of ethnographic element very early on in like the early 1900s all the way to the 60s. So it was like these musicians, mostly nerdy white boys, were finding like the playing of old school backwoods blues musicians, like I think it's like Bucka White or something like that. And they were finding these recordings of musicians that were either old and dead, and they were becoming inspired by them and trying to revive like folk styles, but like giving it like complexity and like, you know what I mean? Or a new form of complexity. They had their own.
You are rad, my man.
Thank you.
That was very, very good.
Thank you, man. It was a pleasure to do it.
Yeah, it's so warming and just, the vibes are really strong. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. I wanna see if does this harmonize with the guitar, the Mabira, the Zimbabwean finger piano?
It depends. It depends on what the notes are tuned to.
That was nice.
The first stuff we were.
Fucking worked for me.
So I don't know what. So each of these are tuned to a particular key. So I play in like open tuning, so it's like somewhat restrictive and playing with other people. But the first, so there are obviously, of course, notes all along these things that match, you know, quote unquote match. And it seems like, yeah, you were doing a pretty good job of hitting those.
Do you think these?
Yeah. It like locks together. Hang on, let's see if I can find the matching.
Rock for a moment.
I like how there's an element of, there's like a dissonance.
That was fun. I'm glad that we got to mess around at the end a little.
Yeah, I love this thing. This is one of the best. I've had a few actually, and this is one of the best ones that I've
Mabira
played
finger
around
pianos.
Indeed.
Watch them just crush it.
It's hard not to on these things.
Give that upper row some love.
That's the Beastie Boys. Girls, girls. Isn't that what they used in that song? I don't know what the fuck. I don't know nothing.
It sounds like a wind chime.
The upper row is so lit.
It is good. It is really good. It all rings really. It all rings really true. I don't know. It makes a good sound. Each note is like really nice and distinct on this one. And the body is really weird too. Usually they have a sound hole like right here in the center, but this one it actually doesn't even have a sound hole. It's just a chunk and there's a little bit of...
Teach about the sound hole for the vibration. What is it?
Yeah, it would usually be hollow. I mean, like the guitar. It's hollow, and so then you gotta have space for the sound to reverberate inside it, and then you have to have an exit for it.
And this is just a hunk of wood. There's no hollow.
Yeah. I mean, there's hollowness throughout the wood in its own way. That's why wood is good for acoustic instruments, and I guess acoustic transmission of anything. You know, wood has. You find that even without the
and it's ubiquitous.
Yeah, this one has a nice ring to it, even if you like mute the tines. You know, wood has a musical quality to it just built in, because there's all these little chambers where sound can build up and sound can be communicated and reverberate throughout. So, but it's interesting that there's no hollowness to it, quote unquote. There's no like body. There's no chamber.
Paul, this has been so damn fun. I've had such a good time, my man. I'm so grateful that you came on the show. And
yeah, likewise.
We only started, talking about what needs to be discussed.
I know. It feels like it feels like a bunch of good tangents. Like the whole conversation was a bunch of like good little tidbits.
Yeah, good tidbits, exactly. That's the best we can do is the tidbits.
Yeah.
How do you communicate someone's soul in an hour? Yeah, right. Yeah. Good luck. It's hard stuff. So
well, I hope you enjoyed the production values of the show.
Yeah.
Paul. I just
We
hope
have
you
the
enjoy-
Ron Vargas,
Yeah.
the preferred technical director of the Bay Area.
yeah. Until they find out.
You can find Ron on ronvargas.com.
Vargas.
Vargas.
With an R.
Vargas.
Vargas actually has like 3 H's in it. Vargas.
I'm smart.
I'm smart.
Not dumb, like everybody says.
I'm smart and I want respect.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So thank you, Paul. Thank you. I'm really excited to continue building content with Paul. Please go follow Paul. His Instagram is lit. Go check out his website. Links are below. Also, go and build the future. Go manifest your destiny into the world, everyone. Go and make art. Go make music. Go make film. Go create. Go build. Enough sitting, enough consumption. Go and create. Build the future, everyone. I love you. Thank you so much. And give us your thoughts below. We'd love to hear from you. Peace.